Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own Base Podcast. I am Chris Moody, your host, and today very excited to be joined by my co-host Alicia Hale. We are pumped to have Udi Ledergo with us today to talk about elevating account-based go-to-market with revenue intelligence. So Alicia, welcome to the show, and then we'll get Udi talking too.
Super happy to be here. Cannot wait to talk to Udi today, and thanks for having me, Chris.
Well, thank you. Well, Udi, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, hey, Alicia, hey, Chris, excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're pumped. I love the background, too. I mean, great visuals to look at. I love the Gong white at the top. I need to copy that one. But one thing I love to start with is just for you to walk folks through your journey. So what led you to what you're doing today and any things you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, so depending on how far back we want to go, I will mention something from like very early years. So growing up, especially in middle school and high school, I was really into all sorts of performing arts. So I did everything from play piano at wedding receptions and hotels with all sorts of different ensembles, doing jazz and other show tunes. I was doing some stage lighting and sound. I do magic for 10 years, even some puppetry. And when I look back at that, that kind of paved my way to doing marketing, because I think marketing is kind of the grown-up job of all those things put together, because I do see marketing as putting on a show and an experience for our audiences, the buyers, the larger community around that. So that was kind of important to me, and I'm still a big fan of the performing arts. I still play the piano, not professionally, but I'm a more of a viewer and listener at many other concerts and shows. So that's kind of what got things started. Fast forward, my first couple of jobs could be described as product management. So I was doing that for several years. And for those who haven't done it or aren't deep into it, product management is a fascinating role because you're kind of sitting on this fence, and on one side you've got customers and they're screaming at you what they want to see your company create for them, what they like and what they hate about the current product you have out there. Then on the other side of the fence, you've got your engineering team. And they typically don't like to speak with customers, not all of them, but most. And they're sitting there waiting to be told what they should develop for the market, what the marketing likes and dislikes about the product. And so I did that kind of bridge role for several years. And I figured out that I love the client-facing part of it a lot more than I do telling engineers where to put the button and how to test for extreme cases of what happens when someone tries to break it. So from that, it was kind of a natural path to marketing. I was at a company where I was a product manager, my last product manager role, and we did not have a full-time marketing function. So I was doing a lot of marketing even as a product manager. I was putting on conferences and shows and producing marketing materials. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could do just this stuff full-time. So I built my pitch. I went to my CEO and I said, I think the company would really benefit if we had a full-time marketing function. It would give us a lot more visibility, create more brand awareness, and convert better sales. And he said, I think you're right. And I said, great, because I've got the perfect guy for you. I want to take on this role. How about we hire someone? I'll train them to replace me in product management, and we go do that.
It's bold.
So we did that.
Love it.
I know. That was the first time I really created a role out of scratch that did not exist in the company. And I became the VP marketing of that company. We took that company public. And fun fact is the guy who I recruited to replace me as a product manager eventually worked his way up to the CEO of the company.
Hey.
So that was a very, very good hire. And from there, I kind of jumped into other companies and became their first head of marketing, either VP marketing or CMO. Took a pause for a couple of years to do consulting when my twins were born. So those are my second and third children. The house was hectic with 3 children running around in diapers. They're still running around, but not in diapers so much. And so when my twins turned about 2, I got a call from Amit Bendov, who I worked with twice before, once at Panaya, once at Click Software. And he said, hey, Udi, remember that crazy idea I told you about 6 months ago over coffee about recording sales calls and like telling sales leaders and their managers what's going on? I said, yeah, that sounded like really shooting for the stars. And he said, well, we built it. or a basic version of it. And we rolled it out to 12 beta customers. And within 3 months, 11 of the 12 became paying customers. So I think we should start marketing this thing. You want to come help us? And I said, yes, I would like to come help you. And so I let go of my consulting customers and I joined Amit as employee number 13 at Gong. This was in 2016, so almost 9 years ago. And the rest, as they say, is history. I had the good fortune of being the first marketer at Gong. I built a team of 60 amazing marketers and led Gong's marketing for almost 7 years. And then 2 years ago, I stepped into my new role as Chief Evangelist as we brought in leaders who've seen the next level and stage of growth that we're going into. We kind of refreshed the ranks in our executive team. So in the last year, we've had a new Chief Revenue Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, Chief People Officer, Chief Customer Officer, and probably a couple of others I'm forgetting. So lots of chiefs. And that's where we are today.
Amazing. Amazing. What an intro from humble beginnings to where Gong is now. So on that note, we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about revenue intelligence and how it can enhance account-based go-to-market. So I'd love to hear from you, Udi, about the evolution of revenue intelligence. What does it mean today?
Sure. So I think there's probably 3 distinct stages when we're talking about conversation intelligence in what this year is going to be celebrating a decade of the origins of this technology. So it's probably a good time to pause and take toll of what we have. So in the early years, I'd say 2015 till 2018, we called it conversation intelligence. There were a handful of companies, Gong included, that figured that there's amazing insights locked in customer conversations. And if we had a way of capturing and analyzing and surfacing insights from those customer conversations, we'd all have a much better idea of what's going on in the market, which competitors they're talking about, what kind of sales experience they're getting from our reps, what they like, what they hate, what their pains are, which words they're using. So that was the origin of the technology that we call conversation intelligence. And I think it started this very big shift in revenue teams understanding, what I just said, that there's a ton of insights locked in those conversations. Here's a simple way to illustrate this. In an average 1 hour call between a salesperson and a buyer, there's about 6,000 words replaced at average talking speed. I probably squeeze in a lot more than that, but in average talking speed, there's about 6,000 words exchanged in an hour. If you've ever looked at the notes that a rep puts in their CRM after a call, there's maybe 25 or 30.
I was going to say like 10 of them. Tops if it's filled out.
99% of the information, 99% of the information is lost before you even start to try and understand what happened in that call. If you're relying on the rep to summarize that call. They'll go, oh, the customer loves me. They're definitely going to buy, putting in a close date for this quarter. Great. You have no idea what really happened. You have no idea of the eye rolling, of the objections, of the competitors that were mentioned. You've got nothing. You don't even know how the rep performed, right? I've yet to see the rep put in, oh, I was not in the zone today. I failed to show value. But if you actually listen to the call, you might find that out.
Yep.
So that's how it all started. And it started this tectonic shift of revenue leaders understanding that, oh, wow, I can really understand what's happening out there. Instead of asking my reps to collect the information and serve it to me filtered and biased, I can get the real thing from the market. So that's how it started. The second shift happened in 2019, and that took us, let's say, until give or take last year. And so that was 2019 to 2022 or 2023, I'd say. And that part was when we launched revenue intelligence. At that point, revenue intelligence moved from this simple technology that can capture conversations and give you a little bit of analysis to now we're building out a platform, and it can actually help salespeople manage their pipeline, manage their deal, help managers understand where there are opportunities for coaching and reinforcement. It helps marketers, which I think we'll talk about more later, understand how their messaging is resonating in the field, how it's being adopted, how is it impacting business. And so that was the revenue intelligence stage of the last 3 years. And during that time, we also introduced 2 new products. So now Gong is not just doing the conversation intelligence part, but now we have a forecasting product and we have a sales engagement product. So that was the big break out from a single product to a multi-product platform. And I would say since about last year, we're in this third very exciting stage of moving to the future of taking the capabilities of the platform and using everything that generative AI is helping us do to make this almost an autonomous way of managing your revenue team. And what I mean by that is now, not only do you not rely on the rep to write notes in the CRM, but the AI now can summarize everything that happened, not just in a single call, but in a full opportunity or in the history of an account. So let's say Demandbase and Gong have been working together for probably, 6 years. If I wanted to know what's happening with our relationship, I would open Gong and ask, hey, what are the top 10 things I need to know if I'm the executive sponsor of the Demandbase account? And within seconds, it'll spew out 10 bullet points that are extracted from insights that might come from dozens of calls and hundreds of emails that many of your team members and my team members have had over the years. So Gong can fish all of that out, read all those transcripts, all those emails, and give me that information. Can you imagine on a daily basis how much time that can save executive sponsors coming into account, a new AE who took up someone's account who had left, a CSM who's taking over an account from an AE after they bought, or even the handshake between an SDR and an AE. And then once I want to send out a welcome email, I can ask Gong to draft for me because it has all that context. Here's a recap of what your team and my team were talking about in the last year when we last talked. And so that's where the platform is going. And it's now, I'll end with this. It's doing two important things. One, it's automating away everything that can be automated with today's technology, which is a ton, which is everything like updating your CRM if you still want to do that, drafting your emails, summarizing your account details. So a ton of automation. And the second thing it's doing is guidance, AI-based guidance on everything that us humans are uniquely qualified to do. So here are the most impactful things, Mrs. AE, that you should do today to make the most impact on your pipeline. It's end of quarter, so forget about prospecting right now. Here are the deals that are stuck. This one, you're waiting for procurement. You need to reach out to them. This one, the executive sponsor hasn't responded. Send them a ping now. Here's a recommended format for you to just hit send on or make a few corrections if you want before you send it out. And so that automation and guidance is really where this platform is going. Forrester recently called our space now revenue orchestration, which is a pretty cool name. We're considering adopting it ourselves. Right now, we're just calling it the Revenue AI platform because that's really what it does. It's managing and accelerating revenue using the power of AI.
Yeah, amazing. I have something timely for you to react to. Udi, I don't know if you caught it. This morning and your talk track, especially when you mentioned if you still want to update your CRM, jogged my memory on this. I read a post from the CEO of Rattle on LinkedIn this morning. I don't know if you caught it, where he was talking about traditional CRMs, I'll say, and how it is incredibly difficult to expect reps to be able to not only update them, but to update them accurately. So I'm interested in your reaction because in the comments, a lot of people mentioned, is this a place where Gong could play a significant role? So I'd love to hear your take on the CRM of the future and how AI is going to be able to impact not only accuracy of notes listed, but again, how people adopt that intelligence to make orgs more efficient across all of go-to-market.
Yeah, that's a great topic, Alicia. I did catch the post and several of the comments. It's making the rounds. Let's take a step back. First, updating the CRM is not some God-send duty that we all have to do. We all have to eat, we all have to sleep, we have to move around. Those are the things we have to do because nature dictates. Nature didn't dictate that we need to update the CRM. That is a man-made invention of about 30 years ago. And we've all come to accept that this is never going to go away. Well, newsflash, it is going away. It is absolutely going away. That's the best news of the day, okay? Let's think about it. You mentioned some of the problems with updating CRM, but let me complete that picture. So we've identified 3 main problems with updating the CRM. And that's kind of beyond the obvious that everybody hates doing it, everybody's terrible at doing it, and they will rather chew glass than update their CRM.
And then they make everybody angry if they don't update it, and then it just ricochets from there.
Yes. So here are the three problems with updating your CRM. First, as I already talked about before, you get very, very partial information. Most of the information never makes it to the CRM. Again, the example of 6,000 words in an hour conversation with the buyer, 30 of them make their way to the CRM. So you're losing most of that information on the way. And Forrester has written a ton about this.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Second problem is you don't get it in anywhere near real time, because some reps, they'll update their opportunities at the end of the day. The good ones do. Others will wait till the end of the quarter because they know they won't get their commission check unless everything is in the CRM.
Yep.
How many details do you think they'll remember 3 weeks after they had that customer conversation? Like, if I go to a trade show and I don't update my information at the end of the day, there's no way I'm waking up the next day with a slight hangover and
on to the next thing.
Who I spoke with about what.
Yep.
So number one is you get very partial information. Number two, it's very, very late and delayed. Number three is that it's always biased because you're filtering it through the lens of the AE. I gave one example before, if a call didn't go very well, I've yet to meet the AE who will say, I was not in the zone, I didn't show value. It's always, the customer didn't get it, or customer has no budget, let's move on. You're always going to get it filtered through the AE, and if you've ever sat in on someone else's sales call, you've seen all the things that they haven't seen themselves because they're sitting there, and of course, they think they're doing great, and you're there cringing and squirming because, I can't believe he said that, and like, why didn't he use the script for answering that objection? And
it's never happened.
Never, not at your company.
Never happened.
No.
Not here.
No.
Not at these two companies.
Absolutely
Just to be clear,
not.
that has never happened
Never.
here.
No.
So those are the three problems. It's partial, it's delayed, and it's biased. So there's got to be a better way, and that is what we understood 10 years ago at Gong. And so a ton of those problems are already being solved today. If you look at not just Gong employees, but I think roughly 500,000 Gong users across almost 5,000 companies, they hardly ever need to visit their CRM anymore. And that's what you were seeing in that post and many others that have been circulating, because folks are figuring out, wait, 99% of the things we used to go to the CRM for, like updating our opportunities, submitting our forecasts, sending out prospecting emails, we do all of those out of Gong today. What are we still keeping the CRM for? So I'm here to say we are not quite ready to replace CRM, at least not yet. CRM still holds data that we reference back to and store in the CRM. And it also has some workflows which we are working on replacing, but we're not quite ready for prime time yet. So you are correct in seeing that folks are spending less and less time in their CRM. They're not doing that work in Gong. Gong is doing it for them. So there is no necessity to keep updating our CRMs. And I would say that in the next few years, we will see CRMs either dramatically changing or going away, because the model of having to go in and update everything that you did in the real world is not sustainable, and it is going away.
Oh, such a bold statement. I love it. Udi, I love it.
It's happening. I mean,
I know.
You
You asked me that 5-10 years ago, I would have never seen the day. It's amazing how disruptive
we
AI
might live to see the CRM-less day.
Well, look, when you're ready, I'm pretty sure you just created a co-marketing campaign we can run, because you said nature didn't tell us to update the CRM, so we could send out stone tablets that say, thou shall not update your CRM. And we do it together. Whenever you're ready.
Let's do this.
All right.
You're paying the shipping cost, Moody. I'm not paying
Yeah,
for stone,
I have budget. I do have budget.
It can be pretty heavy to ship.
Hey, we can
You take
figure
that.
this out. I'm near a rock quarry. Like, we can work this out. We'll find a strategic
Dedication.
relationship.
Love
Udi, you hit on some of the pains and how they can be solved. One thing I'd love to dive into is alignment. And we know aligning go-to-market teams, there's always a human element. There are personalities we have to work with, sales and marketing coming together, customer success. How does revenue intelligence align go-to-market teams?
Revenue intelligence helps a ton with sales and marketing alignment. The biggest thing, if I had to put in one sentence, is that I think today, if you look at companies that don't have great sales marketing alignment, which is probably a lot of companies, it almost always starts because they don't agree on the facts. No, but you were supposed to bring 100 more leads. No, I thought that was sales. Oh, wasn't it SDR? What happened in that call? What happened to that budget? That's not what we agreed on. So the arguments is often about the facts and who said what and who was supposed to do what and what actually happened. Revenue intelligence makes that problem go away because now we're all looking at the same data in the revenue intelligence platform. We're seeing the raw conversations with customers, who did what, who said what, and we're seeing the insights that the AI is surfacing. So these are the top 3 objections that we're hearing this quarter. These are the accounts that are considering churning because they're not happy with what product delivered. And these are the opportunities that haven't been pushed forward by BDRs or AEs or CSMs. So once you get that who did what and who said what problem and argument out of the way, we can all join forces to strategize on how we're going to win more deals and not waste all that time on what actually happened and is that what I meant and is that what I said. So I think that's the probably biggest area where revenue intelligence is helping.
Yeah, that's great. Speaking of revenue intelligence helping, I know from experience, reps live for revenue intelligence. They are leveraging the AI. They are loving the call notes that it provides. But I'd love to hear how you've been able, or have you seen marketing teams and RevOps teams activate the goodness that is created from being able to analyze these sales calls, analyze this market feedback on messaging. I'd love to hear some ways you've seen it really well done and applied to the other functions within go-to-market.
Absolutely. So, at Gong, we realized that a lot of companies need help with this. So we created a center of excellence where our previous VP of RevOps is running that center of excellence. And I work pretty closely with them because I do similar work for CMOs and marketing teams using Gong. And what we're jointly showing them is how to track all their most important initiatives. Here's a classic one. Marketing gets up on the stage at sales kickoff, rolls out the shiny new deck that we created in the ivory tower of marketing.
Wait, are you watching us, Udi? Do you know that's what's happening at Demand Base right now?
It's in a couple weeks.
I still have to finish my deck.
Hold on. So this sounds familiar, right? We share the shiny new deck. Everyone applauds and then goes to their wine tasting or race car driving. And then 3 months later, I'm in the office kitchen and I meet Sarah, one of our top AEs, and ask her, Sarah, how's it going with the new deck? And Sarah looks left and right for an escape route and then mumbles, oh, it looks great. I've been meaning to give it a try. And then pretends to see someone and runs off. When I say that, marketers kind of cringe in pain because they've all been there. Most marketers have no idea who's actually using all those marketing materials that they slaved over for months to create. They have no idea how they're landing with buyers, and they have no idea how they're impacting business. And so we're kind of doomed to go over that again in 6 to 12 months. And the next kickoff, I'm going to be up there on stage again, rolling out a new deck, having no idea what the last one did and if the new one is any worse or better. And so that was the old way of doing things. And the new way of doing things with Gong's revenue intelligence is that we create an initiative within Gong for everything like a new sales deck that we're rolling out. We just rolled out one recently at Gong. And I can tell you, because we're looking at it on a weekly basis, we know which teams geographically and by company size are adopting it all the way down to the rep level. So I know that Sarah is now crushing it by using the new deck in 80% of her opportunities, but John is only using it in 10% of his opportunities. So he's going to get tapped on the shoulder saying, hey, John, let's talk. What's going on? Did you miss the training or something there not landing for you? Does it sound awkward? Talk to us, give us feedback so we can get better. And then we roll up at the team level. I could see Team EMEA is doing great, but Team West Coast, not so much. So that's where I'm going to focus my coaching efforts to make sure that they adopt that. And so Gong not only shows me who's adopting it right now, it also helps me pinpoint coaching and reinforcement opportunities. But this is where it gets really exciting, because the best part of it is that Gong shows RevOps and marketing and sales teams how using these new materials and any other initiative, it could be a new case study, it could be a new price sheet, a new product launch, how are reps using these materials impacting business? And Gong clearly shows you things like, the teams that are showing the new platform deck, their win rates are 35% higher than the teams using the old deck. And you know what else is changing? Deal velocity. The new deck is driving deals 14% faster if we count the days of the deal, what CRM calls age of the deal. We look at that and we can see that reps using the new decks are saving 5 days, shaving 5 days off their deal cycles. And finally, we're also seeing that deal sizes are growing thanks to the new price list. So those using the new price list, their deals are now 24% larger than those using the old price. So getting all this information from your revenue intelligence platform, you probably have to be crazy not to use this because you have literally no other way of understanding the connection and the impact between running these initiatives, using these materials, and the results that they produce. And so RevOps is fanatic about tracking these things, and then they go with this to the sales leaders, and then they look at them and say, well, okay, it looks like this deck is actually not producing the results we wanted, so marketing, go iterate on that, listen to the calls, see what's not landing, come out with a better version. And once we see, the new price sheet is actually working, now let's go see which teams are not fully adopting it yet because they're crazy to leave that money on the table. So that's how revenue intelligence is helping RevOps, marketers, and sales leaders do more business.
Well, that is fascinating because what you just mentioned that is so exciting is a huge unlock on those portions of marketing that are so hard to tie metrics and KPIs to, like brand and PMM. Anywhere you go, folks struggle on how they're going to attach themselves to KPIs in those roles and how they can report on them. But 100%. The simplicity of having that all stored in Gong is such a fascinating unlock that, if I'm being honest, I hadn't actually thought of before.
The best product marketing teams are now using Gong for that exact use case.
Wow.
And it goes much further than that. They're also using Gong for their win-loss analysis. I used to have to pay external agencies to come and do a bunch of interviews and ask them why they bought and why they didn't and why they went to someone else. But now you can just run that in Gong, and Gong automatically identifies any deal where the customer mentioned a competitor that they're looking at or eventually went to, and then can analyze and see, Sarah got a 60% loss rate to this competitor. She could use some reinforcement on the battle cards for how we differentiate against them.
Yeah.
John, on the other hand, is winning almost every deal against that competitor. Let's focus on some of his calls and share them with the team so they understand how he's differentiating us against them, because that's how we should all be doing it.
Oh,
so you can do that sort of win analysis and build your battle card for Gong.
Yeah, I love this. And look, that was a masterful answer, Udi, just to be clear, because we were trying to segment out marketing so we could go marketing, sales, RevOps, and you actually showed how revenue intelligence fits across all three in your answer. So I'm sitting here going, okay, that touche, well played. One thing I do want to ask, though, I think you've hit on the benefits for marketing, sales, and RevOps and how they can use revenue intelligence. Over the years, the insights that have come from Gong and Gong Labs are some of my favorite pieces of content I've seen, like the ineffectiveness of slide decks on first calls or the effectiveness of curse words and some of the things that I have seen come out through Gong over the years. But what are some of your favorite insights that you've seen through all of this data where you see one little data point and it's one you can't wait to pull out of your back pocket and share with folks?
Well, I think that the one you referenced on swearing is always a fun one that gets good reactions from people meeting it for the first time. So we ran a really fun research looking at different reps and how they behave with language. And so I'll kind of give you the TLDR. We found that in certain circumstances, if a rep uses some colorful language like the S word or the F-bomb, it can actually increase her win rates by up to 8%. And that optimal use case is if you use swearing as a mirroring technique to mirror your buyer's language. So if I were selling you, Alicia, and you kind of dropped an F-bomb and signaled that you're comfortable with that sort of vocabulary, if I mirror that and subtly use the same sort of language, I would create more rapport and trust and a better relationship. And I would increase my chances of selling you by 8%. On average. Wow. So if anyone read Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference, he talks about mirroring and labeling. So that's kind of within that realm. But we did the specific analysis on swearing on sales call, which we were happy to confirm it works there as well. There's even a slight win rate if it's not a slight increase in win rate if it's not used as a mirroring technique. But the best way to use it is, and probably the safest as well, so you make sure you don't offend anyone, is as a mirroring technique, right? Some people are appalled at the idea of using these words in a professional setting. Other fun ones that we found, well, the very basic one that I still probably get wrong and many people do is, there's the old mom saying of God gave you one mouth and two ears, so you should listen twice as much as you talk. I definitely don't follow that advice, and I should. We all should, because we found that salespeople who speak less than half the time, we measure the percentage of every speaker on the call. So salespeople who speak about 46% of the time or less perform a lot better than reps who are speaking 70 or 80% of the time, because then they're just on a rant and the customer loses engagement and doesn't feel heard. They're less likely to get the next call, let alone close that deal. So the number one piece of advice for anyone using Gong is just shut up. Just listen more. And that probably leads to another insight that won't surprise you. We found when we looked at salespeople of the two main genders of men and women, you can probably both guess who are much better listeners and who know how to shut up better. And it is not us men, Chris. I can tell it is not.
I wasn't even going to answer. That's my learned experience here.
I know, but it's one thing to know it intuitively and then look at the data. And you're like, yeah, shit, we should have known that. We all need to learn how to shut up.
So yeah, I mean, I would never have said that about either one of you. Just for the record.
You're very kind.
Yeah. So what is it that makes sales so hard? Udi, we've talked about, the data around having to fill out a CRM and how difficult it is and how minimally it's done. How a seller has to be able to employ all these techniques on mirroring, how they need to shut up more and listen. Knowing what you collectively know, what is it in your opinion that makes it so difficult? What's maybe the number one thing that makes it such a challenging role?
I think the most challenging thing about sales is that it truly is a beautiful combination of art, craft, and science. And a lot of the things that we focus on in Gong are the craft and the science, which are replicable. And it is pretty universal that if you're speaking for 80% of the time, nobody's going to want to buy with you because you're obnoxious. And if you're swearing too much, that's probably not going to work either, and so on and so on. But there's so much that doesn't depend on you and requires deep personalization and creating rapport and trust, which is why, I know you didn't ask me about this, we can get to that later. I don't think salespeople are going to go away anytime soon.
I don't either. We don't either.
Crave that human interaction in many, many cases. But it's really taking all those tools and science of the craft that we talked about today, but then personalizing them to a once-in-a-lifetime experience and interaction for that buyer. You really need to understand what are her top 3 pain points right now, what bad experiences she's had with other products that you need to alleviate and assure her that she's not going to experience with yours. Be very sensitive to her buying cycle and where is she in her career and how is your product or service going to help her succeed in what she's trying to achieve politically, internally in her organization. That's what makes it so exciting and I think what the best salespeople strive on, because it's so exciting to be able to be truly helpful to someone else when you're not looking at everything through the lens of how do I hit my quota and how do I just close this deal, but when you change the perspective to how can I best help this person, that's where I think the satisfaction is, that's where you get that adrenaline rush, and that's I think the best we can all hope to ever do is, if you can help one person every day, which salespeople get the opportunity to do, that's an amazing way of making a living.
Yeah, you made me think about, the fact that I've bought a lot of software in my career, a lot of tech, but I can very viscerally remember the AEs or sales leaders that have been exceptional in this sales cycle. And I can remember one off the top of my head when I went back to one of my marketing leadership roles after I came back on maternity leave. And this was during COVID. And I had my very young daughter with me at home. And I think a lot of people were still in that mode where they were a little embarrassed to have kids around. At least I was at that point. And I remember I was going on to a demo. This is probably my third call in their cycle at this company. And everybody at the company showed up with their kids on the call.
That's nice.
And it was so sweet and kind of them to do that. It really made it one of those experiences in the selling process that I'll always remember. I'm curious, do you have one off the top of your head for some of the tech that you bought through your career that is super memorable and notable for you?
Oh yeah, I've worked with people who maybe sold me once, but did so in such a way that they practically became friends.
Yeah.
And I've gone out of my way to help them with things that I could help them with later, whether it's referring clients, whether it's helping them get another role. Some of those people I brought to Gong. And so, yeah, it reminds me your story of things that we did during COVID when we knew we were selling to some buyers who we noticed on calls had children and pets running around. We send them things to make their day a little bit easier, whether it's just a coloring book for their kid to keep them busy while mommy's on a call,
Yeah.
or a bottle of wine to keep their husband busy while they're on a call. We went out of our way to just make their lives a little bit easier because, we're all just humans trying to do our best and get through the day. And I think one good thing that came out of COVID is that we all were forced to become more vulnerable and stop pretending that we're these high and mighty people sitting in big offices wearing suits. We were all in our pajamas with screaming kids trying to break down the door, and COVID and remote work kind of made us face that reality. And I think it made us better for it. You notice I never use a virtual background, and I encourage others not to either. When I get on a group call and I see some people with either cameras off or virtual backgrounds, I'm like, folks, take all that off, turn your camera on. We want to see your laundry pile. I want to see your pajamas. It's fine. Like, let's make a human connection here. I want to get to know you. I don't want to hear your voice behind this muffled screen or blurry background pretending you're sitting in some big office. We're all working, well, many of us are working from home right now. Let's just embrace it and talk about it. I think people's backgrounds make a great conversation starter. Seeing your pet or spouse or kid walk behind you is memorable, and it creates a connection. Why would you not want to do that?
Yeah, I love that. And I think it speaks to exactly what you mentioned before, which is that human aspect of being a seller. I think that's one of the core reasons that this role will never go away. It's such a critical component.
Absolutely. I will say the where I think the watershed point is that they're very transactional purchases that we make every day, the type of thing you'd order on Amazon. If you need some storage box, you don't want to have a long conversation and wait for someone to get back to you. You just want to go on Amazon and 2 clicks buy it. But anytime you're making a more high stake purchase that probably needs to be customized, and you actually need consultation on what is the best solution for you, I want to talk to a person. I want that person to be helpful. I want to know that they're looking out for my best interest, not just maximizing their commission check.
Yeah.
And it's those people that we have the best experiences with.
Yeah, I love that. I used to say when I was an analyst that all my kids know how to pick locks. So if they show up, we're going to let them hang out. I would lock my office door, but if they came in, it was fine. That's what happens, even at the formal analyst firm that acquired us at Topo. But to that personal relationship point, we saw data at Topo that sellers and SDRs who were texting their accounts actually had higher close rates. But it's not text as a channel. It's really about the relationship, and they know that that's how they want to be communicated with, and that they may be busy and multitasking or at the game, and just, hey, here for you when you need it, quick, easy, informal communication.
You're 100% right, Chris. We've seen that with our top reps as well, but that's a classic piece of advice that can also go rogue when people misinterpret it. So I've seen early career salespeople who are like, oh, I heard someone say that texting is great, so they start cold texting people who never had a relationship with them, like, oh, this is so-and-so from so-and-so. I want to show you my new solution who can do that. And then like, oh my gosh, no, that's not how you use texting.
So why do they keep saying back stop over and over. I don't understand.
Yeah. That's where the technology meets common sense and good judgment, and that's why we still need, and we will need for many years, smart human beings to understand that no, that's a terrible tool to use for cold prospecting. But once you've had a first call with someone and you casually ask them at the end, hey, I know inbox gets flooded. When I have an update on the contract, is it okay if I text you? And if they say yes, now you've got permission, and now you know that you can text with them. But that's the subtle art of doing it right, and not just following some generic advice, which is probably going to get you into trouble.
Yeah, totally. Well, we have one more question before we hit the lightning round. So the lightning round is where we get the quick hitters, like your favorite tech and your favorite books and your favorite people to talk to. But the question is from the audience, and it's a trending topic. You have hit on this some already, but I want to ask it just to give you a chance to take an approach at the broader question. And the question was, how is AI going to change account-based go-to-market? So if you give your stance on what you think is coming in the future, then we'll shift into closing things out today.
I think the two main areas, one, which everyone's talking about, is increased productivity, both for the seller and for the buyer. So you're going to be able to accomplish more with fewer resources because AI is going to just do a lot of the work for you. You know, it used to take a rep 2 days to get a call summary out to a customer. Here's what we discussed. Here's what we agreed on. Now, before the last person hangs up on the Zoom, the draft is already ready to send out. So that's definitely going to add efficiencies and productivities. I think the more important thing, the bigger thing that I'm looking forward to is to see how we can all continue to improve the buying experience to make it less transactional, less mechanical, and just more human. And there's a lot going on there already, and there's stuff that we're planning on releasing this year and beyond. So I think improving the buyer experience, making it a joy for everyone involved, that's what I'm most excited about.
Love it. Well, Alicia, I can take a stab at the first one here.
I don't know how you want to set up the lightning round. Do you want to just
okay.
bang?
Insert some great music. Maybe we can do this in an edit.
Dun,
like,
dun, dun,
don't. Yeah, there you go. I was going same spot. Okay, well, the first one, we've talked about Gong and demand base, but we love to ask if there are any tools or technology you recommend to our listeners.
Oh, gosh. As Chief Evangelist, I don't get to use a ton of tools. I have been finding good creative uses for ChatGPT. So no groundbreaking tool here you haven't heard of, but I've been doing a bunch of things from finding the exact word combination that eluded me for something that I could describe but not quite pinpoint, and then I asked ChatGPT for like 10 rewordings of something, and it goes like, yes, that's the one I was looking for. To using it for building my itinerary for my next trip to Maui with all the restrictions of what we eat and where we're staying and how long we like to drive and what activities everyone likes. So I think ChatGPT is just becoming a bigger part of our lives.
Amazing. All right, next one. What do you like to read? Blog, newsletter, anything that you'd recommend to the audience?
I am very old school, and I love having a paper book on my nightstand, 1 to 3 of them at any given point. For years, I only read nonfiction and kind of either consumer psychology, behavioral psychology, and business books. In the last couple of years, I think since COVID, I've decided to loosen up a little and kind of rotate between nonfiction and fiction. So I'm always reading a couple of interesting books. The last nonfiction I finished last week was Adam Grant's Think Again, which I thought was fascinating. Lots and lots of great insights there. On the not nonfiction, but not business either. 2 that I finished in the last couple of months that were incredible are called Red Notice and Freezing Order. And they're about this whole crazy real life story of this American-British investor in Russia. And I highly recommend anyone wants a chilling real life story of crazy things going on in the world.
Oh, fascinating. I'll put that on my list.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on my list too. I actually had a spy as one of my groomsmen in my wedding. He just couldn't tell us he was a spy until later, but he spent time in Russia. So I'm going to have to get him on the podcast.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Who inspires you in the B2B space, Udi, that you think we should try to get on the show?
Carrie Lou Dietrich is an amazing marketing leader. She took Atlassian public as CMO, and she's doing mostly consulting and board work these days. And she's one of the first people I text when I'm in a pickle and need advice on something. She always has something smart to say about pretty much anything. And if you're not already following her blog, it's got so many resources to just be illegal. Like, she's got templates for everything from planning your budget to how to think about team building and other stuff. Like, she knows her stuff.
I was just thinking about her earlier today. I met her while I was at Product Board. She's fantastic. What a resource. It's a great ad.
Love it.
And how can people get in touch with you, Udi, after this podcast?
LinkedIn is the best place to find me. There's only one Udi Ledergo, so it should be pretty easy to find me. We can talk about that another time. But on LinkedIn, and if you're not already using revenue intelligence, of course, Gong.io is where to go to find that. And happy to connect with any listeners on LinkedIn. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Alicia, thanks for sharing the co-host responsibility. Awesome job, both of you.
Thanks. Happy to be here. Thanks, Udi.
Thanks, everyone.